my goodness, that music. I am excited. Next episode. Here we are. Something's gonna go down. Right here. Oh, this is something. This is going to be pretty fun. Anyway, welcome to Rockinjima, members of the Shiramaya family. I am Beatrice, the alchemist for this family, employed by Kenzo-sama himself. That's crazy. Quiet. I have served him for many years. Oh, she's reading it. I have served him for many years in accordance with our contract, but on this day, Kenzo-sama has announced the final suspension of that contract. Therefore, I ask that you acknowledge my resignation from the position of family alchemist from this day forward. How foolish. What nonsense. I can't stand to listen to it. And now, there is one part of the contract that must be explained to all present. I, Beatrice, like Kenzo-sama, have asked quantity of gold under certain terms. One of these terms specifies that all the gold is to be returned to me on the termination of contract. I mean, she's reading it, but maybe I should just say Beatrice, what I think Beatrice's voice would be instead. Furthermore, I am to receive everything the Shiramaya family is interested. Ridiculous. It's been ridiculous from the very beginning. So it's basically one of those things, right? Doesn't it sound just like one of those contracts with the devil? Oh my goodness. Oh. Dude, this is something. I already said that, but man. Ooh, it's not so good. The contract has expired, so they've come to collect the interest. Is she trying to grab some retirement money for her old age or something? The soundtrack? What a tiki witch? Batwork, now isn't the time to joke around. Batwork made a face as if to ask, if I can't make fun of this, what can I make fun of? Some of the adults' faces were pale, while others were dazed. I'm gonna read it in Beatrice's voice instead, because just Maria saying that stuff is weird. After hearing this, you may feel as though Kenzo-sama has been savagely ruthless. However, Kenzo-sama did append a special clause to the contract so that you would have had a chance to preserve your wealth and honor. Doesn't get rid of my stuttering though. If and only if that special clause is fulfilled, I will lose my rights to the gold and the interest for all eternity. Special clause? What is it? Special clause. Clause. Special clause. Yeah, a clause is like a figure of speech. Beatrice retains the right to collect the gold and accumulate interest upon the termination of the contract. However, if someone is able to discover the hidden gold of this contract, Beatrice must abandon these rights for all time. The collection of the interest will proceed shortly, but if any one of you fulfills the terms of the special clause, I shall return everything, including the portion that has already been collected. Furthermore, as the first step in this collection of Kenzo-sama's debt, I have taken possession of the Shiramaya family head's ring, which signifies the passage of the Shiramaya family headship from one individual to another. I ask that you confirm this for yourselves by examining the imprint on the back wax seal. Are you trying to claim that that's the meaning behind the seal? That father would relinquish this ring is unthinkable. Kraus stared at the sealing wax as if trying to burn a hole through it. Eva and Rudolph were doing the same over his shoulder. Come to think of it, when we were playing chess, I did have a strange feeling that something was missing from Kenzo-sama's finger. Dr. Dansha, don't say something so careless just because of a vague memory. We can't prove its authenticity here. Yeah. Only by asking Father directly can we determine whether he really handed over his ring and whether his letter tells the truth. That's right. It's just as Kairi-san says. Do you really think? Kenzo-san will tell you. After all, that person's thoughts sometimes surpass the bounds of common sense. Oh, it's still him. No matter what happens, it's still nonsense. In the first place, the illusion of gold itself is one of Father's tricks. I've already heard enough talk of that gold from the rest of you. But this is the witch speaking, right? About how the inheritance and all the assets will be handed over to the one who finds the gold, right? So maybe Beatrice-sama is Father's legal advisor or in charge of his funds. We can't possibly trust some strange person who entrusts such a suspicious paper to a child. Iniki, we need you to be frank with us. Is it possible Dad's assets are being managed by someone you don't know? No, that's impossible! As the family's head representative, I control all Father's assets. It should be impossible for anyone to do as they please with them without me knowing it. So this must mean there are some assets you don't control, right, Krusty? How foolish! Such assets could not possibly exist. Oh, but there's such a thing. An asset of Father's that you don't control. There's no way such a thing could exist. No, it does. It's Father's, no, Beatrice, hidden gold. Yeah. Okay. Let's keep it simple. In short, Dad is some trusted confidante that Umineko doesn't even know about. Furthermore, this person has always been in charge of watching and managing the gold. Or it could be some eccentric rich person who offered him a world with the rules like a devil's contract. I don't know what all this is, but I'm getting into it. Could it be that this confidante called Beatrice is trying to test which of Kinzo's children is most worthy to be financed by her gold? Kai's question was one that all the siblings wanted answered. Upon reflection, they realized that Kinzo's strange epitaph had hung in the hall beneath the witch's portrait for quite some time. And while it had long been whispered that whoever solved the puzzle would receive everything, no one had ever clearly stated it. It was just something that everyone had hoped might be true. And right here, right now, the thing they'd hoped for had been clearly stated in Beatrice's letter. It clearly specified that everything of the Jeremiah family would be given to the one who found the gold. Kinzo-sama had already publicly displayed the location of the hidden gold within the epitaph under my portrait. Reading it in Beatrice's voice and then having Marie on the screen. I don't know. The rules apply equally to all who can read the epitaph. If you discover the gold, I shall return everything to you. Tonight, I ask that you enjoy your battle of wits with Kinzo-sama to the fullest. I sincerely pray that this night will be both intellectual and elegant. Beatrice the Gold. Man, she's setting something up. Yeah, gross. Father, I know you can hear me. Please respond. The door to Kinzo's study was being violently, harshly beaten against over and over again like a percussion machine. The yells coming from the other side more and the crowd screwed off and sometimes funeral. It was the siblings who were trying to intrude into the study to question him about the truth behind that mysterious letter. Kinzo was eating. An elegant tablecloth was set over the desk, and the fabulous dinner that was on the table down in the dining hall was seared. Kinzo continued his meal in silence, sitting taking an empty plate, looking uncomfortable between the door being pounded on Kinzo's face. Can I read? Man, everyone is calling for you, but what should I do? Weakly. God, my meal is both the silence of a great truth. Should I silence them? There's no need. It's not even mentioned of yours. Kinzo enjoyed his food, apparently indifferent. It's hard to read the book, but just the visual novel. It's hard to read the text and also not be so into this music at the same time. Because it's catchy. Genji quietly lowered his head and took a single step back. I kind of want to read the lines to the beat of the music. As did with Cat. What, that would be copyright, wouldn't it? It's already copyright, huh? Yeah. As he did, Kanan, who stood in reserve like a shadow behind to the side of Genji, opened his mouth. Maria-sama apparently received a letter from Beatrice, so I imagine they wanted to test its authenticity. Ha ha ha. Has she started already then? Come, Beatrice. I have no shortage of points to wager. Shall we enjoy this night to the fullest? I don't think I'll lose. Your smile will be mine for all eternity. If I could see it one more time, I wouldn't regret losing my wealth, my honor, or even my life. Well then, the roulette has begun to spin. Which pocket will the ball fall into? Noir, Rouge, or house takes all? Come, you may begin, Beatrice. I'll show you the power of miracles once more. I know Rouge is red, I think Noir is purple. Boy. This is getting intense. She's like, how about a game? A strange letter that the witch had entrusted to Maria wiped all memories of dinner from our minds. Maria was repeatedly barraged with questions by Aunt Rosa and the other parents, and became increasingly ill-tempered when they refused to believe it. If we kids tried to butt in, they'd probably ignore us. Our parents were all stirred up, firing back and forth about the gold and the distribution of the assets and completely forgetting that we were even there. I'd already guessed they'd been talking like this in the shadows, but I hadn't thought they'd be so blunt. It gave all of us kids a considerable shock. Shock. I was thinking stock because money. From what we could overhear, all the parents wanted more money as soon as possible. Back and forth about grandfather's inheritance. Back and forth about the distribution of the gold if it was found. And about advance payments in cash. It was so despicable, I could hardly bear to watch, even though one of them was my father. It looked like Jessica felt the same way. We left our seats without being asked to, and went to hang out somewhere well away from our parents. I get it. Now I totally see why grandfather hates coming down for meals. I'm so disillusioned with our parents right now. All that about money and the inheritance. How can they act like that right out in the open? Well, I'm already completely disillusioned with my old... There's no way I could think any worse of them. That's exactly the same for me. Still, that freaking shocked me. Shocked me to the core. Jessica looked down at the floor, irritated. She was always talking about how bad her parents were, but maybe she hadn't really felt that way deep inside. The depths of Jessica's shock made that clear. You're all minors, being supported by your parents, so you might not understand. But getting money is neither a simple nor a pretty thing. I won't try to force you to understand right now, since we're still kids. But even so, I want you to realize that your parents are just doing their best in their own way. Oh great, George and Niki's gotten all mature. George and Niki said, I know you're working hard as a full-fledged member of society, but does that mean you shouldn't turn into a shameless, greedy vulture like our parents whenever you start talking about money and assets? If it were only for my own benefit, then no, I wouldn't want to do that. That was just one white. Classic. However, when your family and your employees or subordinates and their families are all counting on you, there are some times when you must fight. I hate that kind of fight. That back and forth about grandfather's inheritance just makes me want to puke. Jessica pretended to spit violently. That harsh reaction made the depths of her pain very clear. Let's stop talking about this. All this about grandfather's hidden gold, property, and inheritance is our parents' problem, not ours. I agree. At the very least, I think children have a duty to be considerate and stay out of their parents' way when they're talking together. It sounds pretty boring. Everyone knows the phrase, adults are filthy. Everyone knows the phrase, adults are filthy. But we had now seen that for ourselves, and that really did give us a considerable shock. George and Niki was now pretty much an adult, and I'd already been disillusioned with my dad, so the shock wasn't that big for us. But Jessica seemed to be taking it hard. Apparently, she'd received a bigger blow than I thought. She always talks badly about her parents, but it looks like she hadn't changed at all on the inside. Even now, she's still a pure-hearted, delicate person who can't doubt others. I'm sure she respected her parents as much as anyone else does. And then her parents started raging about going, money, inheritance, my money, right in front of all the other parents and the children. It's no surprise she received such a shock from hearing that. Jessica-chan, please don't start hating your mother and father. I won't ask you to understand them, but at least don't hate them. I get it. Just leave me alone for a bit. 6 years ago, I would have kept taunting Jessica even after she got all dejected. But I guess I really have grown over the last years. I realized it'd be better to leave Jessica alone right now. Jessica suddenly looked away sulkily and left the parlor. She probably wanted to be alone for a while. I could do nothing but wordlessly watch her back as she left. Come to think of it, I wonder where Maria-chan went. She's probably pouting in front of the portrait. Maria truly looked up at the witches. And she'd expected that coming in direct contact with Beatrice and receiving the letter as proof would surprise everyone and make them happy. However, the adults had doubted its authenticity, quarterly bombarding Maria with questions and refusing to accept her story. Even for me, it wasn't hard to imagine how much that must have hurt Maria. We couldn't speak to Maria or Jessica. In the end, George, Nikki, and I just abandoned ourselves to the sound of the falling rain in the dark night. I wonder what's happening with that typhoon. Maybe there's something about it on the news. George and Nikki started walking over to the corner of the parlor where the television was. He hadn't called me over, and I really couldn't have cared less where the typhoon was on the sea now. So without going over to the television, I ordered her on the window. The wind hasn't picked up that much here, but I wonder if it's horrible over the sea. I did hear about a severe storm warning on the weather report. Ah, Kairi-san, I take it those big walks between the adults are going smoothly, yeah? She seemed to catch the sarcasm. Kairi-san shrugged. I wonder if that stomachache of a discussion will continue all night. It's not going to be fun. Well then, please enjoy playing vultures to grandfather's property as much as you like. I feel sick. I'll agree with you on that. If I could just slip away like you, I'd do it. Unfortunately, I can't. Even if I'm not allowed to speak. Your spouses have it pretty rough too. Kairi-san took a deep breath, smiling bitterly. That's right. They probably wouldn't let Kairi-san speak since she only married into the family. Still, as Dad's partner, she has had no choice but to stay by his side and support him. She's probably had to bear the full brunt of this mental pressure much more than me. I wasn't going to apologize, but realizing that I had spoken to her harshly, I cut the sarcasm for the time being. So how does it look? Are they still stuck on the topic of the mysterious witch, Beatrice? More or less. Those four siblings are always piling up secret agreements when they come together to discuss the division of grandfather's inheritance. They're saying that some unknown fifth person has appeared and is trying to make things even more complicated, and there's no way that'll make for a peaceful conversation. Just when you think they're snarling at each other, they'll set up a common front. Natsui Nisan's not the only one getting headaches. On the one hand, they all want a larger portion than the other siblings, so they're all rivals. But on the other hand, they don't want one yen to be snatched up by anyone other than siblings, so they're also all allies. I hadn't been told the details, but the siblings were apparently discussing how to protect their shares under various situations, setting up ceasefire agreements and rules to prevent anyone from getting an unfair advantage, even preparing to resort to legal action if absolutely necessary. That they would go this far to preserve their shares was so beyond disgusting that you just had to acknowledge their resilience. So basically, Beatrice is like an assassin sent by grandfather. He probably wanted to scare the hell out of his children for talking about the inheritance without him. Oh, that was him. Darn it. Ah! I couldn't tell because he didn't change his expression. Ugh. Who is this Beatrice, I wondered? If everything she claims is true, and she's a mystery figure that no one knew about until today, and she also knows about grandfather's hidden gold. On top of that, she was even entrusted with the head's ring. She must truly have been trusted by him. Well, obviously, I don't think she's a witch riding around on a broom, but there's no doubt she's a mysterious person who's earned the right to be called a witch. If only Maria-chan would go into more detail about that. Everyone's been smothering her, even though she's just a little girl. They really scared her, and some things they might have asked now can't be asked. I wonder if those people have ever even read The North Wind and the Sun. What we do know is that Maria received a letter from a person who took the name Beatrice. She sure is shy for a mysterious person, entrusting Maria with a letter and hiding her away, even now, when she could have just appeared and talked to us directly. Hey, Battler, do you really think a person called Beatrice actually exists? Who knows? Doesn't it really seem like a false name? Like she's a grandfather's representative, so she was given permission to take the name of the witch from his delusions? Oh, I said her? No, that's not what I meant. Right now, there's a total of 18 people here in Nakajima. Do you think there's a 19th person? Are there really a full 18 people on this island right now? Wondering about that, I began counting on my fingers, and it really did come out to that many. Do I think that a 19th person exists? What exactly do you mean? Just what I said. The person who lent Maria that umbrella supposedly wasn't one of us 18. So isn't it natural to assume that a 19th person exists, and that this person lent Maria that umbrella? Well, yeah, it sure looks that way. Then where exactly is this person now? At the very least, she must have been on the island when it started raining. And ever since that time, the weather has grown progressively worse, so taking a boat out would be pretty much impossible. In that case, that person must still be on the island, hiding from the rain somewhere, and without any of us spotting her. True, we've all been randomly prowling around all over the mansion and the guest house, but no one has bumped into a 19th person. But this island is huge. There might be other places to take shelter from the rain other than the mansion and the guest house. At about this time, I began to realize what direction Kairi-san's suspicions were taking us in. Kairi-san was denying that a 19th person existed. Beatrice is one of us 18. In other words, she thought someone we knew well was tricking us. If Beatrice is who she claims, she would surely be the most honored of guests, the most honored of confidants, trusted by Grandfather. There's no way Grandfather wouldn't give that kind of person a warm reception. She would surely have been ushered into the mansion. However, we haven't seen anyone like that. Wait a sec, isn't this line of reasoning of his a bit too hasty? Sure, no one spotted this person, but that doesn't mean you can't deny the possibility that a 19th person exists, right? Maybe, but for some reason they landed on the island stealthily and have been hiding ever since. It's what they call a devil's proof. It's easy to prove that something exists. If this Beatrice appears in front of us all and says hi, then it's settled, but it's possible to prove that there's no 19th person. Oh, dang it. I switched them around again. Yes. Battery-kun, your way of reasoning isn't bad. In our current situation, there isn't enough information to either accept or deny that a 19th person exists. But if you spin the chessboard around and think that way, we can deny the existence of the 19th person with near certainty. Spin the chessboard around was one of Kairi-san's favorite phrases. I've been influenced by those words and used them myself from time to time. When you get stuck trying to find a move in chess or shogi, then by spinning the board around and looking at everything from your opponent's standpoint, you can often see a strategy that'll give you the upper hand. It means turning things around and putting yourself in your opponent's shoes. You see? Let's say that a 19th person called Beatrice actually exists. That person must have managed, without being seen by anyone, to stealthily arrive on this island and remain hidden ever since. Maybe they had some reason, okay? In that case, why did they go to all the trouble of appearing before Maria and handing her the letter? It really was a contradiction. If they had some reason for hiding themselves, then they should have stayed hidden the whole time. But even so, they'd appeared openly in front of Maria. Then, wait, Maria said it herself. She said the witch made her a messenger. Maybe that's because Maria was the youngest and looked the most obedient. Why would they need a messenger? If they just wanted a letter delivered to the family conference, they could have mailed it. If they mailed it to each of the 4 siblings, no one would be able to ignore it. There was no need for this person to carry it themselves and secretly deliver it by hand. Yeah, that does sound pretty weird. In the first place, if Beatrice existed and wanted to make her presence known to everyone, then she could have just openly presented herself to all of us. Despite that, she chose the vague method of appearing through a little girl called Maria-chan, and only gave us a vague impression of who she was. Contradiction. Let's go a little deeper, shall we? She appeared in front of Maria, trying to give us the impression that a 19th person existed, and yet, she still hasn't appeared before us and is hiding somewhere at this very moment. Think about those contradictions. You've got to keep these things in mind when you spin the chessboard around. In short, if a person wants to leave us with the impression that Beatrice exists as the 19th person, what might their goal be? If this person wanted to hide, then they wouldn't have made their presence known. And if they wanted to show themselves, then they wouldn't have used the roundabout approach of entrusting someone with a letter. Which means, it's simple. Beatrice is one of the 18 people. That's why they want to create the illusion that there are more than 18 people. The 19th person was revealed so spectacularly. If someone were to profit from this, it wouldn't be some 19th person in hiding. It'd be one of the original 18 people. Of course, this reasoning is full of holes. If you turn over even a few of its premises, it'll simply fall apart. But I'm almost completely certain it's correct. This is starting to feel pretty creepy. Someone lent Maria their umbrella and handed her the letter. Supposedly none of the 18 did this, and yet Beatrice was hidden among those 18. What was this person planning, hiding their true form and pretending to be Beatrice? I suspected it might have been Maria-chan play-acting, but the contents of the message were extremely complicated, and it's hard to imagine Maria-chan writing that herself. However, I can't deny the possibility that Maria-chan is working together with someone. Oh, wait a sec, Maria's a 9-year-old kid, right? What could she possibly be planning, and with whom? And what about her straightforward, honest, obedient nature? Yes, I also understand what kind of person Maria Chan is. Because that's exactly why I think it's possible. That girl's a dreamer who can't help but look up to and blindly accept the existence of wishes. So if a person appeared in front of her and claimed to be the witch Beatrice, Maria Chan would happily swallow it up, I think. So you're saying that if someone disguised themselves by wearing that fancy dress from the portrait, tricking Maria wouldn't be that hard? Of course, with that reasoning, all of us women would become the primary suspects. Anyway, who did Maria Chan encounter? Learning the details of that question would be the best key to solving this riddle. But this key has been firmly locked away inside Maria Chan's heart. Everyone denied the existence of the witch without listening to her, barraging her too much with questions about who Beatrice actually was. She probably won't open her heart to the adults now. In the dim hall, in front of the portrait of Beatrice, Maria was sobbing.
No one believes I met Beatrice. Even though I showed them the letter Beatrice did, they still don't believe.
Hiccuping? Okay. Take care, little girl. Anyway, Maria Chan's holding the key. The key to whether Beatrice is one of the 18th people. Wait, 18 people. Or a 19th person. The key of one of the... Wait. Whether Beatrice is one of the 18 people or a 19th person. Maria's stubborn, right? When that girl gets angry, it's pretty hard to make her feel better. Battle-kun, I think a kid like you would be better at cheering her up than an adult like me. After she's feeling better, try asking. I know you don't care about all this back and forth about that inheritance, but don't you find this Western Mansion mystery situation exciting? Who in the world is this person who gave Maria Chan the letter? It makes her intellectual curiosity ache. You're actually pretty tough, considering you're still excited after being dragged through that endless money talk. It else can be pretty amazing. I shrugged exasperatedly, but I did notice something. Kyrie noticed how dejected I was after hearing our parents' turbulent discussion, and was probably trying to clear the air. At the very least, I recovered enough to voice my complaints. She wasn't my real mother, so I never felt like calling her mom, but it did make me think she's a real adult. Hey brats, so this is where you were. Kyrie, you really took your time fixing your makeup, didn't you? I think I'll make a habit of going out to touch up my makeup too. I'm sorry. A woman's makeup takes a long time. So, how has the discussion been without me? I'm sure everything was all peaceful and harmonious. Kyrie-san poked the weak spot under my arm with her elbow. We decided to take a break to cool our heads a little. It looks like we'll all be at it all night. Makes me want to cry. His way of talking hadn't changed, but he couldn't completely hide his fatigue. I couldn't say I was sympathetic, but he looked pitiful compared to his normal energetic self. Still, that rain's just awful. I really don't want to go back to the guest house. It looks like Natsuri-Nisan set things up so we can spend the night here in the mansion. What do we do? We don't need to decide until you're done, right? If you run so low on energy that you can't return to our room, then we can take them up on their offer. You're right. We can think about it later. What about you, Badward? If I stayed, I'd just get in the way. I'll be nice and go back over there. I see. Will you go back soon? I don't know. It'd be lonely to head back by myself. I'll gather all the kids and we'll head out. Okay, you go do that. Also, Badward, you won't be going to sleep that easily tonight, right? Yeah, I'll probably be up talking with the cousins. Sounds like we'll be up all night. Is there a problem with that? I see. If you're still awake when the adults' discussion is over, I want to have a little talk as a family. A what? That doesn't sound like you. Apparently, Kairi-san was thinking the same thing. What are you talking about? She asked him in a small voice. Well, it looked like Kairi-san didn't have a clue what that meant either. I also want to talk to you about it, Kairi. I'll tell you later, so don't ask now. Please. I don't know anyone who I don't know if I should say that word or not. It kind of comes off as a swear, but it's not that bad. There are worse. And now he's saying we're gonna have a talk as a family. Both Kyrie-san and I couldn't help but get wide-eyed. What it's supposed to mean is a kid born into a family that isn't together anymore, like that. Like, two people get together, they give birth to a child, but then they don't stay together afterwards. Don't look so terrified. I'm the one who should be terrified, but he's just calling him because he doesn't like him. After all, just gave him that name, or just calls him by that. At that point, he swallowed his words for an instant, even though putting on airs of importance wasn't much like my dad. You're freaking me out, Dad. Everyone in our family's gathered here now, right? Everyone, don't make a big deal out of it and spit it out. Goodness, I have trouble reading so much. Tonight, I will probably be killed. There was a huge crash. It must have been really close. Dad's expression, brightly illuminated by the lightning, was burning to my eyes. Dad's face, which always looked so sure of itself and which always wore a taunting expression, was strangely frail in a way I couldn't really explain. It was so worn out that he looked like a different person. What? What are you talking about? That doesn't sound like you. I agree. What happened? You look so timid all of a sudden. It's not like you. I'm gonna go fix my makeup too. Don't follow me. Dad turned away weakly. Huh? What? After that, only Kyrie and I were left, still wide-eyed. What did he say? Tonight, he'll be killed. Don't think that mysterious letter scared him. Wait, you don't think that mysterious letter scared him, do you? He's been watching too many serial murder movies. Kyrie-san didn't answer my light-hearted words and continued to stare at my dad's disappearing back. Bad working. When you told Rudolph-san to spill the beans right away, he left without telling us anything. Even though he said he had something to say to both of us, he didn't answer you. Why? Spin the chessboard around. What do you see? Well, when he said he wanted to talk but then couldn't, that's a contradiction. What, can you see something by looking from Dad's perspective? Yes, I can see something. He wants to talk about something. However, he doesn't have the courage to bring it up. So he actually means to chase after me, talk to me, and ask me about it yourself. By saying, don't follow me, he actually means the opposite. He actually means follow me and forces me to answer. Seriously, what a spoiled brat. What? You really call that reasoning? That's ridiculous. Can great private and police detectives deduce their emotions and feelings between men and women? They can't, right? Figuring out the feelings of the opposite sex is an even more advanced art than exposing the tricks in difficult crime cases. If you ask me, romance novels have much deeper mysteries than masterpiece mystery novels. I see. Is that how it is? I'll stand alongside that spoiled brat. He normally loves to bluff, but tonight he's completely tired out from that heated discussion. He probably wants someone to lean on at the moment. And responding to that need is the role of his partner. Huh. Sounds passionate. Then I'll leave that old bastard in your hands. Yes, leave it to me. I called out to Kyrie-san's departing back. Huh? What? I wanted to say thanks. Thanks to you, my gloomy mood has cleared up a lot. That's good. Communication is important. After answering with a wink, Kyrie-san followed after Dad. You gonna die? What in the world? Natsuki could be found in a dimly lit hallway. Now and then, the thunder would crash, but this had no effect on her expression. She was completely worn out. The discussion that had just taken place between the relatives in the dining hall was repeating itself inside Natsuki's mind. Beatrice had proclaimed that in addition to the gold, all of the inheritance and property of the Shiramai family would be given up to the person who could solve the riddle. In other words, she planned to undermine the absolute guarantee that Kraus, as the oldest brother, had to succeed the family head. Originally, the other siblings had absolutely no chance to inherit the headship. To them, this proposal by Beatrice was extremely desirable. It was obvious that they would accept it. There was no need to play some clumsy detective game. Natsuki knew that the so-called 19-person Beatrice couldn't exist. Naturally, Beatrice was nothing more than a fictional character used to pass a message that Kinzo had written himself. As proof, Kinzo had remained stubbornly neutral as to that letter's authenticity. He was completely ignoring these reckless claims that he shouldn't be able to ignore, that he had given up on the history. In short, Kinzo had wordlessly admitted that the letter held his own message. Most likely, one of the servants had given Maria the letter. Kinzo had probably worked out an elaborate plan with the dress from the portrait he prepared, and someone, probably Shannon, who needed to wear it and deliver the letter in an umbrella. By doing that, he could make it seem like the witch from the portrait actually existed. No, if anything, that alone was proof that Kinzo was behind all of this. In that case, it was the same as Kinzo trying to butt in on a sibling's private discussion. Then Kinzo, by announcing that he'd given everything to the person who solved the riddle, could weaken Cross's overwhelming advantage. Now it was certain. Kinzo had eavesdropped on the siblings' discussion in the parlor earlier that day. So he had known how Crass had staved off the attack by the other three, and to make the scales of the battle go back into balance, he had sent out a strange letter which benefited Cross's rivals. He was trying to push his crazy theory into that Rosa, who had a weak position among the siblings because of her age, and joined the team on the wall. Then, with a 3-1 advantage, they'd be able to overrun Cross yet again and make their ridiculous theories they accepted by force. And by doing that, he gave them the power to settle what once been a nearly decided conflict. They had now started repeatedly pressing Cross to pay them a large amount of money. Using the condition that all of the siblings would guarantee Cross's position as the successor, talk about advanced payments was being brought up again despite having been rejected once. Of course, even without the story about the hidden gold, the Shiramayan family store of wealth was vast. That store of wealth alone was more than enough. I feel like I'm having dyslexia right now. Weak. Even if the hidden gold was buried forever along with Kinzo's death, there would be more than enough to satisfy. Therefore, even if they weren't that interested in the gold itself, I see the words in the order that they're supposed to be, and I'm just reading them mindlessly, so they don't sound like they're in order. Kinzo had managed to instill the lifelong fear that, on the off chance that someone found the gold, that person would be granted the headship. And this kind of Achilles heel would definitely be taken advantage of by someone sooner or later. The only person with this fatal weakness was the successor, Rouse. The other siblings had they had been told by Kinzo about something that only Kraus could lose, and they had thoroughly taken advantage of that. Natsui, as Kraus's only ally in his painful position and as his wife, wanted to fight alongside him. She kept trying to explain to him that the existence of the gold itself was a farce, and that there was no need for him to compromise. Kraus had always told Natsui. He had told all the siblings. He had always said that the hidden gold was nothing more than an illusion created by Kinzo. Therefore, Natsui had believed that it, as his wife, had supported her husband on that foundation. Even so, Natsui's words didn't reach Kraus. Even though Natsui fought so hard and had went all over her strength, he continued to fight by himself and was trying to compromise with the other 3 siblings. Natsui sadly and weakly wondered why she could not be peaceful and started getting angry. It had happened when everyone decided to take a short break to cool their heads. Natsui fought up against Kraus. Enraged, she had asked why she could not be useful to him. He had then told her that he wanted to talk about something and invited her into a room that she was not normally allowed to enter. That room had been sealed with a heavy oaken padlock, and just looking at it had given her an uncomfortable feeling. I'll be right back. Alright, I had to get up for a minute. Moving on. There's no need for you to worry about anything said by those 3, or even the suspicious person who calls herself Beatrice. After all, the gold is just a ruse created by Father. There's no way something like that could be found. Your position as the successor is a solid fact. What are you afraid of? Cross removed the padlock on the door. He then motioned for Natsui to enter. Enter. What is this? There's something I want you to see. I've never shown you this before. Huh. Absolutely turning to open the door with a dubious expression on her face. It was pitch black. She searched for a switch to turn on the lights, but since this was her first time in the room, she didn't know where it was. Kraus entered behind her, pushing her in, and when he closed the door before turning on the lights, the two were swallowed up by the darkness. Only the sound of Kraus locking the door and out through the door. What are you doing? The lights. I am turning them on now. Wait. Just as he said, when Kraus pushed the switch on the wall, a flickering light turned on and lit up the room. That is... Natsuki had her breath taken away. The room had no windows, and at a glance it appeared to be empty. In the middle of the room, a small round table had been set, and the lights brightened only that table, as if it were the leading part in the play. On top of the table, a red tablecloth of elaborate design had been set out, covered with dust. And on top of that, something about the size of a grown man's arm had been set down. That something took Natsuki's breath away. What the? A gold bar. Oh. Yeah, it's a gold ingot of incredible purity. Without this, no one would have believed in the legend of the gold. It was an ingot of solid gold. Even in the faint light, it sparkled with a noble and dignified glint. This is not a proper ingot. I don't even know whether it was cast inside or outside the country. It took a high level of skill to make the purest of solid gold ingots, and in order to verify that purity, it was standard to have the original founder of the bank that guaranteed it and printed on the gold. However, this ingot did not have that kind of seal. This mysterious gold bar had come from an unknown founder. I think it's ingot. Look here, there's nothing to be afraid of. It's just a bar of gold. Natsuki, following Kraus's words, timidly approached the ingot. Right there. Wait, right there. It was him. Kraus pointed at the surface of the ingot. Natsuki concentrated on that section. Right there was the thin imprint of the one-winged eagle crest. Natsuki's breath was taken away once again. That's right. This is the legendary ingot that Father said he received from the witch that the president of Marusu witnessed and was allowed to select at random to take back with him. That gained the trust of the fixers in the business world. I had to use all possible means to find it. I found it before the other siblings could. How could, then, the legend of Father's gold is... It actually exists. The gold that Shiramaya Kinzo received from Beatrice actually exists. Impossible. So it really does exist. Natsuki was shocked. Kraus had always said that Kinzo's gold was just a fabrication, so she had believed it as his wife. However, the reality was different. Since she held definite proof, he had been more certain than any of the other siblings that the legend of the gold was true. Because of this, Kraus was deeply frightened at the possibility that someone other than himself would find the gold that he had failed to find, costing him everything. But to Natsuki, this truth was more than enough to split open her heart. She had thought that, as Kraus's wife, she should be his closest confidant, which was why she had selflessly supported him. And yet, he had hid this fact from her until today. Why? Have I been so undeserving of her trust? That has never been my intention. There was simply no need to tell you. Is that all a wife means to you? Calm down. Becoming passionate easily is one of your bad habits. You're the one who's making me like that, aren't you? But you're the one who's you're the one who's making me like that, aren't you? I've been supporting you as a wife ever since I married into this family. For your sake, I threw away the family I was born into, and I've been offering up my heart and my body to serve you. And in return, this is what I get? How could you? Oh man. Kraus grimaced, looking annoyed. His expression effectively communicated how much he disliked this part of Matsuri, even if he didn't say it out loud. It doesn't look like I would be of any use to you anymore. That's fine. I can resolve the troubles with the siblings by myself. I don't need your help. That's wrong. This is the Shiramaya family's problem. It's true that I am not permitted to wear the family crest on my body, but I am still your wife. Even so, are you saying that I'm not capable of helping you? Are you? I especially wouldn't want to risk you getting involved. It would probably make your headaches even worse than they are now. Take a rest for today. The siblings will deal with the siblings' problems. It has nothing to do with you. That is all. Scary. Okay, not done yet. A little longer. A dull headache tormented Natsu. No matter what medicine she took, no matter what sense she learned, it wouldn't heal. In fact, simply wandering alone through the dark corridors and listening to the sound of the rain seemed to be a better cure. And maybe Natsu, but I was never a sheer Maya Natsu. Oh, it's now her mind, her thoughts. Oh. I have been despised and treated as one, and insulted when I couldn't even fill that role. Even so, I have tried to properly perform my duties as a wife, but now even my husband has rejected me. I've done my best raising my daughter, as if it were the last job left to me. However, I've had no release from my anger and sadness, and it caused me to subconsciously strain that relationship too. Because I've been excessively strict in Jessica's education, she dislikes me thoroughly. She despises me for having no interest in anything that breathes. There's no longer anything I can do for the Shiromaya family. No, that's no good. Despite it all, I must help my husband and beat back the schemes of the other greedy siblings. The family head won't be around much longer. Eventually, Cross will succeed the head, and the next successor will be Jessica. Strictly speaking, the man who enters the family by marrying Jessica will become the next head, but it all comes to the same thing. I have to make Jessica an excellent successor whom everyone will accept as worthy to take over the Shiromaya family. In the days to come, that greedy Shiromaya Eva will probably be plotting to find some fault with the main family. And if it all goes as she plans, Jessica will be dragged down from the succession which George set up in her place. It is regrettable, but George is a man, and even more, he has matured as a person. Compared to Jessica, who is right in the middle of a rebellious period and whose grades are slightly below average, it can be seen at a glance who is more fit to succeed the head. So in order to secure Jessica's position, I need to turn her into an excellent person. After doing that, I want to find her an excellent husband worthy of the excellent person she will have become. A wonderful man who will truly accept Jessica and stay with her through all of life's joys and sorrows. Was Natsui trying to entrust her daughter with fulfilling some desire of her own? Natsui thought back to the days when she had no choice but to marry into the Shiromaya family because of that unavoidable fate. She had tried to block that from her memory. She had consciously forgotten it and had actively attended to the life she had been given as a Shiromaya Natsui, and in so doing, she had built up a new life. But just now, it felt like all of that had been casually rejected. How should I think as I live my life? I do not know. Natsui helplessly rested her head against the glass of the window. The glass, which was cool thanks to the raindrops beating against it, felt somehow refreshing, even though it should have been emotionless. Right then it seemed to be the only thing that could understand Natsui. At that point, even if someone had appeared, Natsui didn't intend to pay attention to them. But she did pay attention, because it was her beloved daughter. Yeah, it was. It's you, Mom. Okay, not done yet. What the heck are you doing in a place like this? Thought you were a ghost. Just like always, her words were rough and not at all like her girl's. Instinctively, words of rebuke rose to Natsui's throat. However, their strength gave out and they didn't escape her lips. Jessica, forgive me, but my headache is awful. Please leave me be. I see. Jessica, seeing her mother in a position of feebleness for the first time, so she was considerably disconcerted. Until just now, she'd been filled with contempt for all the parents, including her mother. Man, but now those feelings had been completely swept away. Her mother's utterly exhausted face had wiped them all out. In its place, the words George had told her floated back up in her mind. Our parents are doing their best in their own way, and because their families are counting on them, they can't afford to keep everything unpleasant and have a heavy responsibility to fight. Maybe your mother had been standing around and just dimly hit Wally. Hit Wally. This always happens. It's so weird. Because no one had tried to understand that part of her. Jessica hated her mother, so she had no intention of speaking kindly to Natsui just because she was looking a bit frail. So when she attempted to speak kindly to her mother anyway, she had to clench her fists and gather up the words from deep in her heart. It sounds like you've really got your hands full with that meeting thing. It has nothing to do with you. Please go somewhere else. Is your headache bad? Should I go get some medicine? You don't have to trouble yourself. Please, leave me alone. Natsui wasn't being cold. She just wanted her daughter to go far away so she wouldn't have to bump against Natsui's own short temper. But there was no chance that Jessica would realize this. Okay. Jessica hung her head, looking sad. Seeing that expression, Natsui recognized the kindness that Jessica was trying to muster. She gave her head a small shake to drive away her own unkind feelings. Then I'll leave. Then I'll leave. It's like that. I'll be with the other cousins, so I don't get in the way of the adults. See you later. Wait there. She called Jessica, who was trying to leave and look only to a stop. What? Thank you for being so considerate. It isn't good of me to go to sleep and leave you alone. Don't talk like that. You'll bring bad luck. I've made you worried, but I'm okay now. I will go. If I let my daughter see this feeble any longer, I'll only make her feel more uneasy. With that thought in mind, Natsui left Jessica with words of gratitude and made to depart. This time, Jessica called out to her mother's back. Natsui stopped and turned around, asking what business Jessica had with her. But Jessica herself didn't know why she'd stopped her mother, and for a while she smiled wryly, muttering to herself as she hesitated over what to say. She was poking around in her pocket when her hand touched something, and she took it out. Hey Mom. I was given a charm today. What was it? A charm against matching? I'm pretty sure that you were supposed to hang it from your doorknob, I think. I forget. There's no point in me having it, so I'll let you take it. It was the scorpion charm that Maria had given her on the beach. Although she'd heard of its various effects from Maria, Jessica's mind had gone blank, and she was just barely able to say even that much. Jessica, thinking that her mother probably wouldn't accept it anyway, immediately drew back the hand she had stuck out, grasping the charm. So when Natsui came back to take it, she was extremely shocked. What is this? Some kind of prize toy? Well, I think it's something like that. I guess you wouldn't really expect a charm that looks like a toy to do anything. But her mother took the charm from where she grasped it in her hand. Thank you. I'll take good care of it. Sometime soon, in exchange, why don't I give you a charm that was important to me when I was a child? It's not like it's not like that's why I gave it to you. But, well, if you really say so, then I will rest for now. My headache is awful. Try not to stay up too late. Sure. I hope I wasn't sitting too high right there. Natsui put the charm in her pocket and turned away. She then disappeared into the dark hall. Okay. Well, alright. That was something. Again, pretty cool music this episode. Well, I'll stop there. Whoops, I didn't mean to put my mouse on the screen. Well, bye-bye.